It is hectic with the amount of cars that are coming in and people trying to park where they want to park, and we have to tell them no, and they get mad at us. If they don't abide by it, we just call a tow truck and have them towed away. Like this guy here, we're boxing him in. So he can't move until all the bikes disappear. It's a little bit wet. It's supposed to be sunny by noon or so, they said, so we'll have to keep fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, everybody's enthusiastic. We've got most of the vendors in now, so not much we can do. Once 10 o'clock hits, the bell goes and doors open and away we go. It's like a herd of cattle getting to the park.
Nobody said anything.
We're at our clubhouse in Port Kells. And we're at our annual, second annual now, grad sale, and just packing up now. One of the things they said we do is take care of the parking at the swap meet, the vintage motorcycle swap meet. So my first year out there, of course, we're Tawasin, 6 o'clock in the morning in the cold, and trying to get rid of all the cars that are left in the parking lot. Yeah. So that's basically how we got involved.
Yeah, and I started when it moved indoors. I didn't go when they were outdoors till 6 o'clock in the morning. So I've been going for the last 2 years, I guess, for 3 years? 2-3 years indoors.
What type of stuff you got? You want to send it to COPAN.
Actually 1995 in the States, and right now to date we have 8 chapters throughout BC. We're all over Canada except for a few provinces in the Maritimes, all over the US, Australia, New Zealand, Europe. Even Iceland has a chapter. I don't know when they have a chance to ride, but they're able to ride. Now 20 some odd years later, we're going strong and helping kids one at a time. We're just there to empower the kids not to live in fear. The Greater Vancouver chapter's been here for about 3 years now, and it's been great. We get to meet people from all different parts of BC, even Alberta, Washington, and it just shows you how much that motorcycle family is so huge, but they care, and they just want to talk about their bikes and what they're riding and do a little shopping.
I've technically been to every year of the show, and it started a long time ago where we were six or seven, and we were giving out trophies for the show and shine. And I would do something small, like something cute, like I was giving out. I thought everybody had to have a purse, like a winning purse for first place and second. So I would, I didn't know any better. I would give them a quarter with the trophy as a purse for winning, things like that. And then it worked up to being T-shirts, and then it worked up all the way up to laying out the floor plan and organizing, and dealing with all the reps in the stores and the shops and getting that all integrated. And then now it's gone into building on that, which is all the social media, dealing with Facebook, Instagram, and engaging the under 40s for that demographic to try and get them more involved with it. Actually, we've had fantastic results in that, so I'm quite happy. The generation difference, where a lot of the original crew, who many do still come, are more of a hard parts, looking for projects, that type of thing. And working into the under 40s, it's more of a social, cultural shift. And we have noticed, we've worked that into vendors. A lot of the vendors have period clothes, or you have old memorabilia, cool knickknacks, that type of things too. So a lot of under 40 wants to go with the whole look of riding old motorcycle, to have the old jacket, period helmet sometimes. First year of the Commando, so that year styling was revolutionary, where they had the fastback design. It was one of the first prominent designs where they hid the fender. It was a big deal for its period. Essentially, making the whole motorcycle slim and more efficient of a design.
So far, so good. It looks like there's going to be a big lineup here. It's unfortunate that it's raining again this year, but it doesn't seem to stop anybody coming in. So people have been coming through already, and some tables, we don't usually open until 10, but some people are kind of selling their wares as people go by if they have stuff, right? So we're going to be opening here pretty soon around 10 o'clock and get things rolling and see how it goes. The fireman's books here, and these are all signed. They're all signed. And the guy who signed it took all the pictures. Yeah, so it's a beautiful, beautiful book. So that's one of our prizes. And we have one of these little dogs that we're giving out from the firemen. So this girl here now she's just going to spin here now. There we go. Beauty. So close. Oh well, next time.
We held it at what's still known as the East Delta Hall on Highway 10 in Delta, in agricultural land. It's a nice little community building. We didn't know how many people were going to show up, so we didn't want to go too overboard, so we thought a modest building would work. It was very wet when we did the show, so it was very similar to my last 2 years, unfortunately. But it was a great event. It brought the community together. We had people from all over the Pacific Northwest show up, which we didn't really envision. Way more people than we ever thought would show up. And it's funny, looking back, some of the vendors from 1986 are vendors in 2017. Well, this is our list of the original vendors from 1986, and some of them are still with us from those years to 2017. Here we've got Paul Hagen. He was a vendor again this year. Ken Hazard wasn't a vendor, but his buddy was, and he was there helping him. Derek Danes, he was another one who was there in the beginning, and he's been there almost every year. Al Mass, he's been with us, I think, every year. He hasn't missed a year that I'm aware of, and he comes religiously from Duncan. Those were the days. There's been a lot of people that have come and gone, and a lot of them still we see every year. It's a social event now, as much as a parts event as we get older. We get to catch up with everybody, and it's great to see all the faces coming back year after year. We're not quite as brown-haired and thin as we once were. We're a little grayer and a little chubbier, but we're having a good time, so that's what matters, and it's great to see all the folks again. We get a lot of characters in our world of motorcycling. Max and Rastus were on the front cover. That was 1993. Unfortunately, they passed away in a car accident in 1998. Max was a New Zealander that was living in Vancouver and working in Vancouver, and had this great cat that would ride around on the tank. Now, it was such a novel idea, I mean, and this thing literally would go with Max. Everywhere Max went, the cat went on the tank. Not in his jacket, but actually perched on the tank of his bike. Different, and if it's got a history behind it, even better. A friend of mine exhibited his bike a couple years ago. It's a 1913 Ariel, I believe it is. Now that was found in the mud on a farm, you know, about an hour outside of Vernon. And he heard about this bike that was in a fire back in the 20s, and he tracked down the history and found the site, and went out with a metal detector and found bits and pieces, talked to the owner, got permission, gave him some cash, and he spent a couple weekends digging this thing out of the ground. It reassembled it, and he rides it. Wow. So I mean, you know, you can't make that up. I mean, that's just, you know, that's the dedication that some of the people get focused on, finishing a bike project and exhibiting it and using it. And it's a wonderful culture. I mean, you don't get that with computers or cell phones or anything of that nature, but something of historical value and interest is a magnificent piece to have in your collection, I guess.
Oh, wow. Oh, you got some anyway. Okay.
No. 28.
First up, I got what year is that? Central 48.
This is an ex-Royal City Rockets 45, 1929. And the Royal City Rockets were a motorcycle group that Burnaby had a group. The Vancouver had a group. They were, some of them had, the Royal City Rockets had colors, and it just said Royal City Rockets that they put on their jackets. And they did hill climbs, they did dirt track racing, and just generally Friday, Saturday night, up and down the main streets of, roaring with their motorcycles. This is probably the third frame. They used to break frames, right? And they, rebuilt motors all the time and blew them up. Transmissions is probably the third transmission. I come to this event every year. I've been involved in the motorcycle clubs here since I was 16.
A lot of the stores want to see us. they use our event to gauge the industry in a way. If we can get a good turnout and they show their support generally with door prizes, that type of thing, that they know that they're going to have a solid season.
Thank you. Barb and I have been pretty much equal partners to some degree. I couldn't pull this off without her support. She's always been the administrative backbone, I guess you would call it, keeping things organized. And I'm the one that's out there talking to people and stuff. She's quieter and more reserved, so she keeps herself behind the scenes.
Because there's so many different types of people there, from all walks of life. As Todd was saying, granted the age demographic is getting a bit older, but with our son working on he does Facebook, all our postings for us, and Instagram and Twitter and all that. We're starting to get, the younger crowd is starting to come in now. And again, they're from all walks of life, and they're not necessarily the typical image of what people think a biker is.
Yeah, we got the employee tell us.
When people come up to us in the booths and stuff like that, they go, well, I don't ride. I said, you don't have to ride. I ride on the back. So it doesn't mean you have to own a bike. You can ride with someone else. So you don't have to do that, right? So I says it's free for all. You don't have to ride. You don't have to ride any particular bike. You ride whatever you want.
This vintage motorcycle show attracts people from all varieties and ages, and you'll get kids that are just getting into biking, and the youth now, they're getting into retro bikes, a lot of them. They've loved that. There's a scene going on in East Vancouver now, and we see these guys driving rat bikes or anything they can throw together, and it's a really unique thing they have going on. And you'll get some 1%ers out there, and you'll get some people that are really collectible, and they have parts there that are just super hard to find. Knowing what part it is, that's another question.
There's been probably hundreds, if not thousands, if you consider 32 years of doing this. And we just met so many different people from different backgrounds and walks of life that it's been really quite amazing to see who's a motorcycle enthusiast. I don't like the word biker. That usually is deemed, it's used in a derogatory term, usually on the 6 o'clock news. So I like the motorcycle enthusiasts. That's what we are. We're doctors, we're lawyers, we're truck drivers, we're business owners. We're a wide variety of people. We aren't the atypical, biker type that they always promote on TV and stuff.
It's just to get together because it is held early in the year, and people are itching to get their bikes on the road. And it's one of the, after the Vancouver Motorcycle Show in January, it's the next big event. And so people want to get out on the road, and if it's a nice sunny day like it is today, it's amazing how many people show up. Yeah. We run out of parking long before the show is even open.
They're a motorcycle enthusiast, as we like to call them, but in their own ways. Some do flat track, some do race down at Bonneville Salt Flats. Just everybody under the sun. One of our vendors one year was a construction worker who had about 5 feet of blonde dreadlocks going behind him, which he had all done up in a scarf when he went to work. I can't remember what type of construction worker he was. And he was the sweetest guy you ever met. I mean, he was nobody would ever know he was into motorcycles. But with all those dreadlocks, I had to go over and talk to him. He was totally interesting.